So my name is Lawrence Muthoga. I look after the developer ecosystem for Microsoft across the continent. And a big part of what we do at Microsoft is training developers, enabling developers. And so in our line of work, we get to do a lot of presentations, a lot of speeches. I've delivered a number of keynotes here and there. And so I'd like to share with you some of the things that I do as I move around and try to prep myself to present and how to give all this stuff. So for this session, we're going to do something interesting. We're not going to do this the normal way. I won't give you guys death by PowerPoint. I want to walk you guys through the journey. And in fact, we won't do a weird presentation out of thin air. Let's actually design the slides for my talk, the one that we are doing right now. And let's walk through the process. So you are Lawrence. Wow. Hello. Hi, Lawrence. Nice to meet you. And you've just been asked, hey, you have to give a talk on structuring slides and basically designing your talk. So what's the first step? Where do you begin? What are the questions that you should probably ask the team that's invited you or the conference team? The first thing, and I'm going to share my screen and let's do this. I'm just going to even open PowerPoint and we can actually start there. And here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second there and share screen. Okay. Here we go and share that. Voila. So what's the first thing I'll do? So the first thing is, I actually don't even need these. The first thing is you need to have an idea of who your audience is. So that's the first question. In fact, it's probably the best question you can ask. And if you see me looking off to the side over here, that's where the screen that I'm sharing is. So please do allow me to do that. So I'm just going to very quickly just hop in here. I won't go into the step-by-step of what I'm doing. Most of this is basic PowerPoint stuff. So the first thing you need to know in case you're prepping is who's your audience, right? So prep. Who's your audience? So know your audience. I'm going to make a lot of typos. Apologize beforehand. So that's the first thing. Who are you talking to? Why is this crucial? This determines the flow of your presentation. This determines how you're going to walk people from point A to point B. If you are presenting to experts, then your presentation completely changes. You might have to dive into technical jargon. If you might have to actually get really detailed, you might need more graphs, more data. If you're talking to beginners in a field, you might need to simplify, you might need to change the flow. That changes things. So the first and most critical thing is know your audience. Always ask, who am I talking to? Who are the people who will be in that room? If it's virtual like this, who are they also works. So is it people who want to learn how to present tech as it is in this scenario? Then yes, it is. Number two, and this is one that we always forget to ask, but it's super critical, sorry, let me do this. I just want this in point form as we move along, is check your time. You don't know when the conference might happen, especially in a virtual world, right? Time zones are a thing. And you never really know when you might have to come in, step up, and present. Check your equipment. So just make sure that your camera is working, your microphone is working, everything is set up and you're good to go. Which brings me to my third point is know your medium. How are you presenting? Are you talking like this over a microphone and a camera? Are you on stage and you have a big screen behind you? Oh, wait, there's no big screen behind me. But do you have a big screen behind you where you'd actually go in and present and have the people actually see it? That changes how you'd work your slides. And that we'll touch a bit on that beforehand. Next thing is, of course, test everything. Usually what I do is if I am traveling to a place to give a speech, do an opening keynote, I always try and get there, if I can, the day before or the night before. Why? So that I can go to the actual stage see the stage, walk that stage, know how much room am I working with? Am I walking from point A to point B? How does the screen work? Do I need a HDMI adapter? I cannot mention the number of times that you go in with your laptop and then you realize they only have the old VGA adapter, the one with all the pins. And suddenly now you need a HDMI to VGA adapter. Otherwise, you have to copy your slides out. It's always good to have a flash disk. Small things like these make your life so much easier. Trust you me. And so always, always, always test beforehand if you can. And if you cannot, then prep as best as you can. And last but not least, and this is always super critical, is just double check your topic. I remember a time when I was invited to a conference, had two conferences back to back, and I went in with presentation B instead of presentation A, and it was a fun event. Let's just say I recovered from that, but it was a tough lesson. So always double check your topics. Always go in ready, knowing. So what have we stated first? First, we are just taking a few pointers here. We need to know our audience, check our time, know our medium, test beforehand, and we need to double check our topic. Good. So we have all this ready. And now you're like, hey, okay, I have my topic and I'm going to come here and say, no, my topic. Sorry, there we go. No, my topic. And this is where you always, always remember demos can fail, but we'll talk about that in a second. And so if you know your topic, then let's go into the next bit of things. Our topic today is how to structure your slides. So we need a few, before you start designing slides and creating slides, you need to have a flow. You need to know a few things. So let's talk a bit about slides and presentation. And the reason I'll talk about slides and presentation together is you can't split the two. Your talk is very, 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 unless you're not using slides, your talk is very closely tied to the slides that you're presenting. And if you are using slides, the slides also determine the flow of your talk. I have seen people who follow the slides. And I want to tell you this, break away from the slides if you need to. You're not tied to them, especially for those of us who work for organizations where you're given decks, we call them decks, but presentation decks, to go in and present. Feel free, go in, edit it, change it, move it around. But let's dive into that. So I have my small box here around prep. So I know my points. These are the points I'll be presenting to you today in our speech. And so let's go to the next point, presentation. And here we go. And I'm going to call it presentation and slides. And this is going to be a bit longer because here there are very, very many considerations. So the first tip I'd actually like to share is just have a few key points ready. But how do you know which points you should have? So there's an amazing quote, I believe, by Maya Angelou. And she says, people don't remember what you say. People remember how you make them feel. And to me, that is the most critical part of any presentation. How do you make people feel? And how can you tie that in with the message? So let's put that together. We'll say message plus feelings equals success. And that's a very critical part to remember. If you're coming in to present something technical, you might think, hey, there are no feelings when it comes to code. But there are feelings. If you can make people feel like they're innovating something, right, when you're talking about code, or if you can make people feel like a design pattern is wrong or is not done well or should be executed in a different way, people remember that. Nobody remembers what you say, fun fact. They remember snippets of it. But if you make people feel proud or happy, or you want to actually leave them with even a sad emotion, sometimes you need to go in and present and make people feel the weight of the words that you're saying. That is super, super critical. It also determines how your slides will look. So our presentation today is this presentation, which is structuring your slides and structuring your talk. So how do you want people to feel? Think about it. If you were presenting, if you were in my shoes right now, how would you want to feel? How would you want the audience to feel? I'll tell you what I have in mind. I have feelings of empowerment. I have feelings of this is something that I can do. And I want to give people the feeling of this is something I can actually do right now. I feel empowered. I feel knowledgeable. I feel like this is simple. That's what I want people to feel. I want them to live feeling on the happy side of the spectrum and feeling like, hey, there's something simple. I can do this tomorrow. I can give a speech tomorrow. And that's the feeling I want you to live with today. So, very, very critical to remember. And if that's how we're going to do it, if that's what we're going to make people feel, now we can slowly design the flow. So, why is flow critical? Think about it. We love stories, right? Everybody loves a story. We like things with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if you're able to walk people through that, it makes it very easy to share information. So you have the message you want to leave them with, you have what you want them to feel, and now you have to walk them through the journey. And now this is the tricky part, because now this is entirely determined by you as the presenter. This is entirely determined by how you tell stories. But don't worry, you're not actually going to be telling an actual story. You're going to be designing what a story feels like. So we need to introduce people to the topic. So we need the what. So we know already what our what is, right? It's I'm just going to call it structuring, slides, and your talk. That's it. However, it's also here's a tricky thing. Everybody already knows what you're coming to present. I'm pretty sure they looked at the agenda. And so you don't need to go in and actually have this up there. You could reframe it, unless, of course, it's set in stone. And also, as you present, you don't even need to repeat that. I'm only repeating it for the sake of all this. But you could start with why. And for those of you who know about Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, it's always, always, always a good thing to start with why. People know why they're there. Everybody here is coming to learn how to give a presentation. But why is it critical to structure your slides and your talk properly? So when I'm designing these slides, the first thing I need to talk about is how we share information. Why is it critical to structure your slides well? So, for example, in this scenario where you are the presenter presenting this topic, of course, the reason why we want more people to learn how to structure their slides is so that they can give better and more impactful presentations. So I'm just going to take a quick note of that. Please note, these notes will not go into the slides, by the way. These are just to help you design and figure out how am I walking through this. So better and more impactful presentations. Okay, done. And now, since we know why we are doing this, let's talk about the how. How do you present? How do you design slides? So let's hop into this. Now, this is where it gets fun, because now this is where I really do enjoy myself. So we've said slides and presentations are really, really closely tied. You want the flow in your presentation to guide how people are actually interacting with you as a presenter, and how they're interacting with the information you're giving them. So here are a few rules I'd like you to keep in mind. Rule number one is, if you can, keep it short and sweet, right? Um, that's not always the case. Sometimes you've been given a 1 hour slot and you're wondering, how do I feel all this with information? If you can, though, keep it short and sweet. Make sure people understand what's happening, which brings me to my point number two is give people an overall view, which I haven't done actually. So there you go. That's my first failing. So how was this presentation designed when I was sitting here and designing it? I said, I won't do slides. I'll walk people through slides. And most importantly is at the end, I'll have a small presentation that will be ready, and we are slowly heading there. So this is why it's always critical. Have an agenda, right? It doesn't have to be point by point of everything you're doing. In fact, most of the times you can give people three simple ways of looking at it. We are going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about how to prep for your presentation. We're going to talk about your presentations and your slides. And last but not least, we're going to talk about actually presenting and how you should be ready for that. I've given an agenda, and it doesn't even need quite a long list of pages. So if you're doing agendas, in some cases, you do need to give a breakdown of what you're going to talk about. Please have them. And of course, this is tied to your audience and the nature of your presentation. So it's always, always nice to have that in mind. So if we're doing a presentation, we're keeping it short and sweet. That's a win. We are giving an overall view so people know how they are going to actually walk through the presentation. But also, if you know and you feel it's going to be a long presentation, give the audience breaks. Remember, everybody has everybody. Oh wow, typos, Lawrence, typos. Everybody has a different attention span. Think about it. How long can you stay concentrating on a topic? Let's be very honest, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it's not that long. But if we can give you breaks as the audience, how does this work? So if you're presenting, the first thing you can do is comedy breaks, right? Crack a joke, say something funny. I am terrible at comedy, so I really can't help you guys here. And so if you're looking to give people a quick laugh, it helps. It gives the brain that nice dose of serotonin, and people feel, okay, nice, I laughed, there was something interesting happening. Option B is videos. And I love videos, but too many and it's bad. I don't think there's anything as too few. I like having at least one video, but it's also dependent on your medium. I'm pretty sure all of us have seen a presentation where you try and play a video and something happens. It doesn't work, or it fails, or the HDMI output was not carrying sound, or there's so many issues that could happen. So if you're doing videos, please, please, please prep, 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 prep. Super, super critical. But videos also give you something as a presenter. They give you time to breathe. They give you time to look at your audience and see, are people interacting? Are people interested? But videos can also summarize your ideas. And so I always try, if I'm having a 1 hour presentation, and I've done this for the keynotes I've delivered, right smack bam in the middle of the presentation, usually at around minute 30, there is a video. And it's always something that's inspiring and makes people feel good. It answers the question of, why are we doing this? Why should we invest in this? Why should we follow this technical topic? Why is this important? If you can give people that, it makes them feel amazing. And most of all, it buys you time as a presenter to chill back, double check your notes, check your time. It avoids panics and stuff like that. Thing number 3 is, and this is also a favorite that unfortunately is not very possible nowadays, is audience interaction. It's an amazing way of creating a break. It pulls the audience away from your slides, which is very, very okay, and focus onto you as the presenter. Remember, slides are not everything, and we'll talk about this in a second. So please, if you can, interact with the audience. And this is a bit difficult. I know this takes practice, but still, it's a really, really, really useful and methodical way of actually changing how you present. It also allows your slides to carry more weight because people are like, okay, he's taking a break. Maybe he's talking about the content, etc., etc. So always, please interact with your audience. In some cases, this is not possible. Let's be very honest. If it's a big stage, you most likely can't even see the audience. If it's virtual, I can't see you right now. So it's difficult, right? But this brings me to my last one and my favorite one. Stories. Take a break. Disappear, stop everything you're presenting, give an example via a story. And to prove my point, there was this time I was presenting in, I think it was Namibia, and we were having, it was one of my biggest first presentations. It was a huge government crowd. I had been brought in to present alongside one of our Microsoft partners. And I was this was 4 or 5 years ago. I was like super young. It showed on my face. I wore a coat that looked like it was wearing me, and it was a harrowing experience for 2 reasons. One, that the moment they started the slides, the presentation completely failed. So the images didn't look good. I don't know. There was an issue with their PC. Oh yes, I remember exactly what happened. The guy tried to convert the slides to PDF, and things just didn't work. And so there I was, I'm doing this massive keynote as to the importance of the cloud and technology and why governments, etc., should move to the cloud. And my basic PowerPoint technology is failing. And so I remember I just literally said giving the speech on stage, and I remember I was signaling to one of the partners, took a break, talked to the audience, went around the entire room, just taking questions, etc., etc. And the entire presentation transformed from what can technology do to just an open discussion around technology with me answering questions and the audience interacting. And for me, that was a very important lesson in presentations. If you are able to build that human connection and people can feel that they're gaining something out of it, it completely changes everything. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you use a story in your presentation. Live demo. There you go. Okay, let's go on. Another good way is questions, but I'll touch on questions in a bit. Okay, so we have an overall view of these are the points going on our slides. And we'll talk a bit about slide design in a sec as we move along. And so then you have the last bit, which for me is this, and I'm just going to move this over here. I love PowerPoint. It's so easy to use nowadays. Just remove all that. And you're going to talk about closing, because a lot of us, and I've watched quite a number of presentations, you end up closing really fast. And so one of the things a lot of people do is they try and keep pushing the core meat of their content over towards the end of their presentation. And you'll find by the time the presentation is ending, you're forced to rush, because let's be very honest, you don't always have time. And so one of the few things that I'd actually have you have on your slides is have a call to action, right? Have a call to action. What's a call to action? It's the ultimate follow me on Twitter. It's the penultimate like, share, subscribe. It's getting people to go out and do something. Maybe you want them to please download the slides on SlideShare after this. Follow me on LinkedIn. Give me a call afterwards. Have your call to action ready, just in case you're told, ding dong, your time is out. Please close in the next 30 seconds. So have a call to action. It also helps you design where your slides are going. And so I'll tell you what my call to action for you guys is today. It's go out there and present something, make some slides. I'll show you how we do that in a second. Okay, second is, of course, have an appendix. And I'll talk a bit about appendixes. So appendices, they're not always required, but in a lot of technical slides, especially if you're having slides that you'll eventually hand over to an audience, and maybe you've done a lot of accreditation, you've done a lot of references, etc., have an appendix. And I'll touch a bit on why that is super, super critical, because we are going to build super simplistic slides and you want people to have the details afterwards. And last but not least, before we actually dive into actually building the slides, is most importantly is leave people, and I'm just going to put it in full, leave people feeling X. And I've repeated that twice, but it's super critical. At the beginning of a talk, it's easy to slowly let that disappear, but at the end of it, you have to come in and make people feel something. Okay, so now we have our points. We have everything ready to present the speech that Lawrence is doing right now. We will add some as we move along. So how do you design the slides? Rule number one, PowerPoint is your friend. There are many solutions out there. PowerPoint is the one I'm most familiar with. Is it because I'm paid by Microsoft? Yes. No, I've been using PowerPoint even before that. But PowerPoint is your friend. So please, please, please familiarize yourself with it. It gives you lots of tools. So I'm going to now dive a bit into the more technical side of presentations and designing them, etc., etc. First things first, opening slide. So firstly, I have a small confession. I do not like white backgrounds on slides. I love them. That sticks out. So that way, if you have, but this entirely depends on the stage that you're presenting on. If you can, always have the opening slide carry your topic. So let's insert our topic here, and we know what it is. It's sorry, and I'm just going to change this to this. It's structuring your, sorry, I'm going to try and move fast, your slides and your talk. Remember, this first slide is super, super critical. It's what people will see as you get on stage. It's most likely what people will see as you start your presentation. So you can't really just have it like that, right? And notice you can use the themes, but today I'm like, that's cheating. Let's do this the hard way. And I'll show you some really nifty tools that can make your life easier. So you have structuring your design and your talk, and I'm going to make this a header because I think that's super important. And now, what can I do? So if you're on one of the more later versions of PowerPoint, there is a design ideas button right over here. And what it does is it will look at the slide and try and figure out how best can this look. So how do we make this look good? Okay, so first things first is people resonate with images. And depending on your audience, you can that is entirely dependent on how they interact with them. So if you had a title much like this, and I'm just going to make it bigger, if you had a title much like this, I would really, really recommend have an image. Look at that. Automatically, it's giving me some options that I can use, and that's completely, it's actually using artificial intelligence to go in, look at images, and figure out what's the best image that Lawrence can use here. So I don't like this one because the image is very low resolution. I don't like this one because, well, I just don't like it because it has glasses and I have glasses, and that makes me feel weird. So I have no reason to not like it. Okay, I want to use this to introduce another option, which is looking for images, right? It's very easy to fall onto clip art and look for images there. But guess what? PowerPoint still gives you ways of doing this. So if you come and say insert pictures, you can actually go in and look for stock images directly from PowerPoint itself, meaning you don't have to spend 30, 40, 50 minutes digging up images unless that's part of the presentation that you want. And we know this is about a speech or a presentation. So I'm just going to come here and say presentation. And yeah, I want one that I like. I like this one. Or we could go with this one. Or we could go with this one. Let's go with this one. And I'll say insert that. And I'll just move it over to the side and voila, there we go. Look at that. Structuring your slides and your talk, opening slide already done. Simple, fast, easy. Next thing we need to do is we need to introduce ourselves, right? So I'm going to insert a new slide. Again, you can use the defaults. I am not a very big fan of the defaults. Everybody has seen them. And I'm just showing you easy and simple ways of doing this. So let's insert an image. We're going to go in and look for my image. I'm just going to move this over to the side because I do have other people's images here as well. And I do not want to show them without their permission. So we're going to put in my face over here. And remember, first rule of slides, by the way, before I go on too far, slides have to be easy. No more than one, actually no more than 3 images per slide, no more than 15 words. Even 15 words is too many on a slide. And I'll simply put that there, come in, insert a shape, and put in my name over here and say Lawrence Muthoga. Oh, I can't even type my name. Wow, Lawrence. And of course, depending on the nature of your presentation, your title might be needed. So mine is Developer Audience PMM. Don't worry about the jargon. And I'm just going to make this a bit bigger. And voila, there you go. And so now you'll notice it's actually giving me options over here on the side that I can use. I don't want to use any of them. I just want to show you something else. Please use things like frames. They make your life much easier. So check that out. Put that there. Again, keep your theme consistent. Since I'm already using a dark theme to start, I'll just come in here, format my background, and keep this as a dark theme as well. And I only need to change the font color here to white, and done. So you have your opening slide. on what you're going to be talking about. You have a slide introducing yourself. Why is this critical? Remember, not all conferences will be virtual. You won't always see my face like this. In some cases, you're on a really big stage, and the guys at the back, they can't see you. And in some cases, they don't have a live camera actually following you around on stage to show you talking. So it's always nice to put your face over there. Also, it allows the audience to relate with you. Show them you're a person. Hey, you exist, you're alive. You can also use this slide to talk a bit about yourself. Hey guys, hi, I'm Lawrence. I love spending my weekends reading, gaming, writing code every once in a while. And when I get really, really bored, I just hop into the car and drive until my tank is empty, which never really happens because it gets dark and I have to come back home. So there you go. You can easily give an intro, talk a bit about yourself, talk a bit about your proficiency. So remember at the beginning, I introduced myself. I talked a bit about my work, and I also talked a bit about why I'm giving this presentation. And so my credentials, why would I, or why has the organizer thought it fit to have me come in and speak about this topic? So please feel free to share. Some of you are experts, but when you present, you're like, hi, I'm Lawrence. I do slides, full stop. You can, but also it's nice. Brag a bit. Oh, I'm not saying brag, don't brag, but talk a bit about yourself. It's very fair, it's very okay. Again, depends on your audience. And so also, now we have our opening slide. We have a slide of you as the presenter, keeping it super simple. We can now have an agenda slide, and I'm just going to duplicate this. I can easily delete that, move this over here, and we can start breaking down the agenda. And here on our agenda, remember, we looked at it at the top. We're going to have, first thing is prep. Second thing is presentation and slides, and third thing is closing. Presentation and slides, and the last thing is closing. Voila. We can have a super simple agenda, or if you're like me, going to design ideas, see what it creates for you, and bam, there we go. Now that looks awesome, right? And since this looks a bit weird, I'll just capitalize it, because there we go. And I can make this slightly smaller. Nice. It's thematic now. So we have our agenda, and of course, agendas look better as bullet points so that people can see how much time we're spending there. Boom. Now we can move on to the next slide. And I'm now going to move a bit faster. I'll still try and explain what's happening. There we go. Okay, so now this is where you get into the meat of your presentation. I see I only have, oh, here's another thing I see people do. They start rushing and they don't explain why. So I only have about 5 minutes of your time left. So what can I do in these 5 minutes? A is, of course, we've talked a bit about all these things that you need, but remember, at the end of the day, what you want to do is leave your audience or give your audience content. So here's my recommendation. Recommendation number 1 is do not clutter your slides. Please. We end up with a lot of slides like these at events where you have, let me just actually drop all this here. And just to make it a bit clearer, let's do this. So you end up with a lot of content cluttering a page. And remember, the audience is trying to do 2 things. And actually, even look at what you're doing right now. You're trying to look at the slides as I'm designing them, and human nature also is making you look at my face as I'm talking. It makes it very difficult to move between the 2. So rule number 1, please do not clutter your slides. If you need to have multiple points, keep it simple, not more than 20 words, because people will try and read your slides. Number 2, do not read from your slides. Your job is to present, not to read. If you wanted slides for people to read from, send them along, right? Or at least have an appendix that people can refer to. And so if you were to have a content slide, keep it simple, make it super legible, have text big and bold, move it around, insert an image. All that is available there for you. And most of all, please, 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 and this is a big error I see, is don't read from your slides. Go in, you know what's there. You built the slides. Even if you stole them somewhere, which we do from time to time, you should have gone through them beforehand. So don't come in and say, how? Point number one, keep it short and sweet. No. Here's how you do it. And here's a very nice tip or trick is come in, look at it, and simply explain without reading the point. So you can talk about it being, so here's how it presents this slide as a very good example. If you're giving a speech, it's always critical that it be short and sweet. Have people engage in with your content in a very short amount of time, etc., etc., etc. Walk people through an agenda. Why is an agenda important? It gives people an overall view of what to expect from your talk. And that way you're actually able to have very simple slides that people can relate to and are not looking at every 15, 20 seconds. And they are actually looking at you and listening to you as a presenter. And last but not least is if you can throw in your references through an appendix. So at the end of your presentation, have your call to action. So let's have a call to action, then we have an appendix. So I'm just going to duplicate that twice. So here we'll say like, share, and subscribe because it's a YouTube video. And subscribe, leave them with a place to go, a place to actually go in and do that. So please always remember at the end, leave people with something, especially even if it was just sharing information, tell them where they can find the slides and what they can do with that. And also, if you're doing a major technical talk and you finished your presentation, you've kept it small, short, simple, you might be wondering, where do I put the rest of the information? That, my friends, goes into the appendix. This is where you'd have all the slides that you may be truncated and put out. So like this, I can put it down there and have this say appendix, and everything else will be found after that. And I'll just put it there, leave it in the middle. And once I finish my presentation, duplicate slide, and I'll say thank you. I won't insert images. I wanted to, but I see we are completely out of time. Here we go. Do a Control E, move it in there. And voila. There we go. And I'll have my thank you, which is my closing slide. If you have a nice fancy image, again, depends on your audience. I'd throw in a GIF or two just to keep it funny and keep you guys engaged and entertained. And for this, of course, I can come in, insert a shape or an icon and say, there must be an icon here, like. There we go. Ta-da! Voila, insert this and make it bigger. And let's make it purple. Voila, simple, super fast, super easy. And remember, the softwares that you're using, the softwares that are available to you are your friend. They're there to help you. So what would I like to leave you with, ladies and gentlemen? Number one, your slides do not dictate your talk. Always remember, you can shape them. You can move with them. Things change, change your talk, keep people moving. Thing number two, people do not remember what you say. People remember how you make them feel. So please go in with energy. Find your zone. And I know this isn't always easy because we all come from different places and it's different kinds of presentations. But please, please remember that. If you can leave people feeling like they've learned something new, that's an amazing, amazing thing to have. And last but not least is do not be shy. Go out there, apply for something. This is the Global Diversity CFP after all. Go out there, find a talk, try, build, do something amazing. Go out there, put your code online, go and present or talk about it if you're a developer. If you're not a developer and you're wondering where can I get started, there are amazing organizations out there. And the fact that you're attending this already means that you're already on the right path. And with that, ladies and gents, with my very simple slides and my agenda and my appendix right over there, I hope you've left this, you're going to leave this presentation having an idea of where do I begin whenever I have a speech or a talk to build, and how do I approach it. So with that, I'll hand it over back to you. Oliver, Lila, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And to our audience, keep learning, keep growing. Thank you.